Hi everybody, it's Charlie here, just quickly popping on just to say that viewer discretion is advised. If you are somebody that is easily offended by opinions, swear words, or any inappropriate conversations or topics, then please click off now. But without further ado, here is the real talk. Hello, everybody. Here we are once again back. Hold fire. Because the thing is, right, is that as I'm recording this, I'm watching like the little like vocal bits like come up on the screen. It's very interesting. Anyway, hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Real Talk. Well, technically, it is the first episode of this, I guess. It's very surreal to say. Anyway, welcome to the very first Real Talk. I hope that you enjoyed the teaser that we filmed the other day and that we recorded for you. That was reviewing the Queen's Walk of RuPaul's Drag Con 2023 in LA. Today, we're doing something just a little bit different. I thought it would be great just to have a little bit of a catch up because, as you've seen over the last couple of months, I have been quite busy and, working. Right, so let me tell you now, honey, there is a fly in this room. I cannot control that. The noise is my chair. I have to say this every single time. But yeah, I've been busy, to say the least. So let's chat about it a little bit. What have I been up to? Well, I did Drag Wars. Well, first things first, suddenly I'm a drag queen. Like, where did that come from? It just sort of happened. It just sort of appeared. The opportunity came up for me and I took it. So I thought, why not, kind of take you through what's been going on over the last few months for those of you that want to just kind of get to grips with stuff. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where this fly is, but I can hear it, honey. Girl. Hell no. Okay, so first things first, I started off by doing the first heat of Drag Wars. Well, I was introduced to people through Drag Wars, like officially. I think a lot of people knew that, well, you've seen from my posts before and my content online that I've always done things a little bit differently. I've always gone a little bit extra and just done things at a different angle, I guess. So this was one of those situations where I was kind of like, I'm just going to do it and just kind of see what happens and just work with it. I sent in, so I actually recorded the audition tape that you can find somewhere on this channel. Oh, I've got Crispy here as well. I should probably mention Crispy and Sammy are here. They are my beautiful puppies. I'll show a little picture for you now. But they're beautiful animals. They're honestly, if you put a camera on them, you would see some bizarre. So yes, so if you hear any weird noises, that's also why I was saying this. That is also why. So yes, I was introduced to people. This fly better piss off. Now listen, honey. Girl. So I filmed the audition tape the day that I sent it in. So it wasn't like a pre-filmed thing. I literally filmed it and sent it in. And the only reason why I say that is because I think a lot of people assumed that, it was something that I just had. I didn't. Everything was very like, it has the nerve to land on the microphone. Can you imagine? This fly has got some nerve. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, the flies in the UK just have some next level balls. Like, it's a bit of a joke. It's honestly just a bit of a nightmare. And the pigeons, oh my God, the pigeons. They will come at you like hell has arisen. Like, it's insane. Especially, like, up in Scotland or up on the border, the pigeons are so different. They're so much more chilled. Like, they're just like, they're just vibing. You're there, like, honey. You know, whereas down down where I'm actually from, which is over near London, it's in Swindon, the pigeons are just like hopeless. Do you know what I mean? Christ. Anyway, yeah, so I did Drag Wars. Heat 1 went amazing. Well, I was actually announced on the cast and I freaked the fuck out, to be honest. I just kind of lost my shit, just because it was the first chance that I'd ever actually got to show people, like, where I want to go, as much as, like, I've said in the past, to people that my career opportunities and my career choices growing up have been different. Like, I've never really... I'm 22, so I'm at that age where, like, growing up is a challenge, and I'm not necessarily, like, physically social, if that makes sense, meaning that, like, a lot of my friendships have to be over, like, social media and over the phone. That's through none of my own militia, but it is just kind of that. And even then, my replies are awful to, like, my friends, just because I'm so not with it with my phone. I don't know why. I just make a real conscious effort to try and spend as much time off of my phone. I don't know if it's the same for you or anybody else that's listening, but, like, I just kind of sit there and I think, like, I spend time on my phone, absolutely, like watching YouTube and stuff, but I do a lot of the time take myself out of social media just because I can't quite fathom why everybody has to be up in everybody's business, honey. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just my opinion, obviously, and all of this is opinions, but, like, it's really weird. Do you know what I mean? Even though I try and capitalize on that as much as I can, by building my fame and building my success, I just find it really interesting that, like, we feel that we have to know everybody's business, I guess. And it's not so much like that with, like, social media, for example. Like, you choose to put out there what you want, I guess, so you invite people in as much as you want. But I've been watching quite recently, like, documentary series like The People versus O.J. Simpson, just that documentary series alone is an example to me, and an example for a lot of people, I think, or should be an example for a lot of people, that just because people put themselves in the public eye and in the spotlight doesn't necessarily mean to say that we have the right to know everything about them. It doesn't justify saying certain things, and it doesn't justify acting a certain way, because in actuality, when it all kind of settles down and you look back at it, what you've actually said has been damaging and hurtful, and there's not actually been any form of point to what you've said in the first place, But the fact that, like, people back... The way that we live now, our society now has a massive, massive grip on, social media. News travels like the sound of light, or the speed of light, or whatever it is. I don't know, I'm not English. I am, but I don't speak English. What? But, see, now I've forgotten the point. This is why I don't go on pointless rambles. What was I saying? See, I'm going to have to listen. I'm going to have to go back now. See, we'll be right back after this. Okay, we're back. I genuinely went back and had to listen to the audio of what I just recorded, just because I was like, what did I say? But yeah, we're in a very different time to the way that life used to work, I think. And that's something, I know that I sound really like matriarchy, and I'm 22 years old, like, girl, sit down. But it's a point that I feel is important to make, because the way that we live now is turning into a very interesting picture, you know? And it definitely wasn't, I think, the intention of people to cause such a uproar of like hatred and like violence towards people. Do you know what I mean? It exposes massively as well the fact of injustice, and it allows us to see injustice as and when it happens for like the true and raw nature of what it is. But it's now being used to kind of manipulate and falsify the truth, which in my opinion is kind of counterproductive, if that makes any sense. I know it's a very like philosophical sort of like point, but that's just the kind of the way I feel about it. I don't know, it's very, very strange. Anyway, yeah, so going back to the very first point, I did Drag Wars. It was great. At that point, I'd only been doing drag for about a week. I'm not going to lie to you. I was very, like, publicly, that was how long I'd been, you know, doing drag before I actually, like, went and did it, if that makes sense. Like, privately, I'd been doing drag for years, honey, baby. She's an iconic legend. Like, I have legendary... I'm like a Diamond Jubilee gay in the comparison to what people know. Like, people know me as, like, you know, amateur, but like in my opinion, I am like platinum gay. So yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I did that, but then, well, I did the first heat, and that was great. You can watch it on YouTube. It was so much fun. I had such a good time. It was the most life-changing experience of my life. And it really opened my eyes to just being yourself, you know, and the benefit that it has on the soul when you are yourself. So yeah, it was really great. And where I was at with my mental health at that point was something a little bit different from, you know, where it is now. You know, I was in a very dark place when I walked away from a career and a company that was, in my opinion, you know, one of the best companies that I'd ever worked with, but I had to walk away from it just because of people, to put it simply. We'll talk about that one in a different podcast, and in a different episode, just because I think that's, you know, a very interesting conversation to have. But it was such a weird time when I started, you know, and then when I got Drag Wars, I kind of freaked out because I was like, oh my God, like, this is everything. You know, when it happens in films, like, when shit just starts going your way. Like, that's kind of what happened for me. And I know it sounds really stupid, but that was just kind of the way I looked at it, if that makes sense. Then I spoke to the hosts and I spoke to the team, and it was just, oh my goodness, the production was so much fun. The show was so much fun. I had the best time. I met some amazing and stunning performers. And for the first time, I felt like I'd actually been united with people, you know, like my brothers and sisters. You know, I really felt as if, like, oh my God, there's, like, more of me, if that makes sense, you know. And, like, I was like, I feel seen in a way that feels real, you know, that wasn't just like the TV. This fly better piss off. It is making a guest appearance without me inviting it, baby. Excuse me. Yes, bitch. You was not gonna do that. Get the fuck out. Now listen here, honey. But yeah, no, it was it was just such a weird it was a weird but great experience because, like I said, it made me feel seen. And I know that queer people especially will relate to that because not all especially when you come from a place that's quite conservative, I guess, or from a place that doesn't necessarily have like interactive scenes. And what I mean by that is like I can't drive down the road and go to a nightclub and watch the local queen because, you know, we don't have that in like our scene, you know, or we didn't at the time. Keyword there, see? But yeah, no, it was it was great. And walking away from the experience, I was more happy with the fact that I just did it, you know, because for the first time in my life, it was the first time I'd ever been able to fully commit to something. Girl, why is a fly so loud? Is it literally in front of me? I can't see it. I can just hear it. It's so annoying. And I know y'all at home is going to say the same. So, honey. Oh, there's fucking two of them. Oh, can you imagine? Does anybody else get this? This is such a struggle. But this is the shit that they should be teaching you in school, is how to deal with flies. You know? Not how to fucking, like, not be... We're not going to go down that route. But, you know... Anyway, do you know what I mean? Like, they should be teaching you household tasks and how to do them properly. Okay, but yeah, no, it was so much fun, and it was a really good time, and it allowed me to center and ground a lot of the spiraling thoughts that I had in my mind, so it really was helpful, and it was a great time. I didn't get through to the semi-finals at the time, which I was like, fine. No, I was honestly just happy that I'd performed, you know. But then it actually turned out that they wanted to see more, so they invited me back as a wild card. And that experience alone was quite surreal because for the first time in my life, I had been chosen for this, if that makes sense. Like, you know, when you're picked last for a group, or like, you know, always just kind of taking the piss out of, or always just seen as a joke, I guess. This wasn't one of those situations. For the first time, someone had recognised the talent that I wanted to. It's like someone had seen me for me and been like, we want that, so we're going to bring you back. And I genuinely sat there and thought, wow, you know, this works. Like, maybe start doing this a bit more, Charlie, and we're going to get somewhere, you know? And it was great because I looked so good doing it too. But then that experience played out. Girl, my week came off. We're not going to talk about that one, honey. Yeah, no, we can't be, like, chatting about that because that was an example for you, people at home and upcoming performers, that rehearsing is... Excuse you. That was weird. My audio cut out. What? Yeah, don't turn down my mic. What? Scandal. But yeah, no, it was... See, I've forgotten again. All right. We'll be right back. Are you finished? Thank you. That was Sammy. She wanted to make a little appearance. She probably saw a pigeon. She barks at pigeons all the time. Oh my God. She does not like... See? There she goes again. We love you, girl. But yeah, it was... It was an example of why rehearsing is the most important thing when it comes to performances. Because I didn't rehearse, and I'll be completely honest about that. I rehearsed a couple of times, but not to the extent that I should have. So, that was my fuck up and my fault. And to be honest with you, the result of not pinning down my wig properly, like, come on, girl. So I thought, right, now I need a bit of a redemption moment. I need to reclaim that, that for me, because I didn't want that to be like the last thing, I guess. Excuse me. So the opportunity came up to potentially put a little show together. Now, this show has been in, and I'm talking about the Drag Takeover. We'll post a little picture on there now for you so you can see it. Also with the links, which are in the description down below. So, go get your tickets. But this event has actually been in the making for quite a while. That fly, though, has not. So you can fuck off. But yes, it has been in the works for a while. And the original project was going to be a lot bigger than it was, or a lot bigger than it is now. So it was going to... See, there it is. It's a meat fly, honey. Yeah, it was going to be a lot bigger than it was. But we had to then... Well, we had a bit of a production issue. Now, for a lot of you that don't know how these events work, is that there's a lot of planning that goes into this. That's what event coordination is, right? But to do it properly and effectively is quite a challenge, especially when you don't have experience. And I had only seen and had experience from a perspective that was like assisting, I guess. And that was helping out, and that I was like very, very low down on the kind of roster of people that are involved in projects like this, So I was not necessarily involved in previous projects to the extent of like dealing with technicalities of things, including like licensing and, a lot of that sort of stuff, which is a very, very, very important side to performance art, but not stuff that, unless you seek that knowledge, will be like shown to you, I guess. So initially the project had to be scaled down, and we stripped it right back, because we had a massive kind of production fault at one point, and it all just kind of fell apart. A few things kind of moved around and stuff kind of got a bit wobbly, and then it all just fell apart. But that is the nature of these types of projects, is that sometimes it's not for everybody, and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, So then the idea kind of sprouted of, how could I then recheck? So clearly this first project isn't working. Fine. What can I do to now then change that? And how can I bring the project down in order to do even better? So I just wanted to go back and like innovate it. And I created the Drag Takeover. So it was the product of many hours of labour. Now, if you're a Rocky Horror fan, that's a line from the show. You're welcome. But it was the product of quite a lot of work at that point. And I was like, girl, these bitches, like, in the nicest way possible. I was like, I've spent so much time doing this, and now I've just got to go back. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just so annoying. But it was not the end, because I had to just kind of pick myself up by my wig straps, pray that my wig was going to stay on, and get up and walk again. Do you know what I mean? So I did that pretty much. And I discovered and I built this really cool open communication and like business relationship with a very good friend of mine, who is now working with me to kind of create this event, and has, created a lot of the stuff that I couldn't create. They have gone and, given quite a lot of work into the other side of stuff, because that's how projects should work. Projects should be a collaboration. you know, especially if it's a solo project, I think that's even more of a reason for it to be as collaborative as possible. And I know that that's such an oxymoron. See, look, I know English. But if you think about it, the comparison of doing, like, where it comes in is that, you're doing a solo show, but you have to work with other people, like, event coordinators, like production assistants, all of these like bigger kind of people in order to do that, So that's kind of where I got that kind of message, and that's where I started to look, because I was a bit like, do you know what? This is a good point. At the time, the production originally was twice the size of what we are now doing. And don't get me wrong, like, it was glamorous and it was going to be a fun event. It was going to be great, but excuse me, I think of myself very differently in the sense of like I think of myself in the third person, because I've been able to separate myself in that mindset and understanding, if that makes any sense. And if you're following along to this point, girl, I'm sorry. But it truly is that kind of mindset completely. And if you get it, then you'll understand. But if you don't, what I'm saying is that I can quite comfortably sit back and look at myself as if I'm in the third person and looking at the wider picture. And that is how I've created actually quite a lot of the content and a lot of the stuff that you've seen me post. Obviously, this is a little bit of a different kind of side of things, I'm explaining it, but what you see is the final product of a lot of thought and a lot of effort and a lot of work, because there's so much dedication to it, And I mean, I started doing these pictures and I started creating this content back in like 2015, 2014. Now, if you can remember back that far, as a kid, like, you'd be fucked if you saw like Drag Race, for example, on a billboard. I still remember the first time I ever saw Drag Race UK advertised on a billboard, and I didn't even see it initially. It was my dad that told me about it, But what I'm saying is that, like, drag as a whole before was, not as big as it is now, I guess. It's definitely, grew and evolved and changed in the last couple of years, and it's been such a iconic change because it's been exactly what we needed. I feel like I've been on the front line with everyone, but just not really shown my face. Do you know what I mean? So I got that, and I wanted to kind of bring that then to this project as much as possible. So it was always going to be a local town gig. It was always going to be based in Swindon, at least for the first like performance. To be honest with you, I didn't really have any intention of like thinking about anyone else, I guess, and that sounds really selfish and self-centered, and I know, trust me. But like, I didn't really think about anybody in the kind of thought process initially, which was why the project failed, because I was thinking more about myself, So in this instance, when we had to strip it back, I then began to think, actually, what can we do to get everybody involved, to do. But now we have got to this point where the project is so great. And when I tell you what we've got planned, girl, I'm not even saying this to you from a perspective that just wants to like sell you a ticket. I'm telling you this as a fan of drag. If you are a fan of drag, if you want something completely different, you can get your tickets right now. Honestly, the link is in the description, especially if you're in Swindon, because we don't have events like this in Swindon. This is why it's a little bit more groundbreaking to like the local people, because we're bringing drag back, I guess. Or like, my intention is to like just give drag a bit more life in Swindon, I guess, because I'm too lazy to move. And why should I move, to do something I love. You know, that's my goal and that's my intention. And the best part is that the feedback, girl, this fly wants some feedback. Man, it's right there. Fly. It doesn't like to be on fucking camera. Anyway, you know, that's my intention. And I'm fully aware that there are probably so many other drag queens in Swindon. You know, I'm not, like, trying to preach to the choir that I am, like, the saint of Jesus, you know. Like, please do not get it twisted. That's really not what I'm about. What I'm about is just doing something that I love and bringing something that I love to a place that I equally as love, because I grew up here, you know. This is my home. And I know that there's probably a couple of other people out there, if not just the 5 people, honey. But, you know, still, we matter, you know. And that's what I'm saying, is that Swindon has always had a very, very bad reputation. It was voted, I think, the worst place to live in the United Kingdom. In England, sorry. It was like the lowest ranking thing. And it wasn't until I was working basically on the outskirts of Swindon with people who also saw that perspective that it allowed me to kind of really look at it and think, oh, sugar, like, yes, it is a bit of a dive. But then I thought, actually, what can I do to change that? What can I do to add a bit of sparkle to it? If anything, purely just to please my own ego. And that was the intention for this, and it turned into such a beautiful project, because I then get to share that with not just myself, but, you know, other people involved in the project. And Shorty, and that's her, you know, we all met through something that was not of our volition, but we've managed to take what they have given us and innovate it into our own. And it truly is an honour to be able to do this show, not just because it's in my hometown, but also the fact that it's being recognised and appreciated for what it is as well. You know, we stand currently in a very interesting time for queer people. We always go through these spikes, and we always go through these, like, moments, you know, where we get attacked and where we come back and we start fighting. And, you know, we really kind of do what we need to do. So I'm not worried, girl. But, like, this is one of those kind of moments for me specifically. And I know it is the same for, you know, that's her especially. Shorty, I think, is more kind of... I don't know. I can't actually speak for Shorty, and I'm not going to try either. But all I do know is that this project is a collaborative project, and it's going to be such a fun show. And I'm so excited to just see the people, you know, see people there having a good time, like having a drink and just having some fun. Because, girl, Lord knows we need it. Like, we do not laugh enough, especially in Swindon. Swindon's a very, very working town. A lot of people are very much like, I just need to get to work, you know. And that's great, but I just want to give people another alternative, you know. And it's not about pushing agenda as well. I don't want people to think that, like, especially, like, local people, I do not want people to think at all that I'm trying to force drag down people's throats, you know, that I'm trying to shove it into people's faces just because of the time of day or just because of where we're at politically. Do you know what I mean? And I know that, and I have been made aware, actually, that some people do see it like that. But that is truly not the situation whatsoever. It is purely just about uniting the people that want drag there and, you know, that want to have a bit of fun and have a right laugh. So that is what this show is about. It's sponsored by Fiesta de Cuba, and I have to say thank you so much personally from myself, that's her, and Shorty. I'm sure that they would say the same, and they will say the same. But, like, truly, thank you so much for this opportunity, because we do not get given, as queer people, we have to fight for these opportunities, and we have to fight for these rights. But to be honest with you, it's not a bad thing because it proves and shows people who wants it and who doesn't want it, you know, and it really makes a lasting impression. And to be honest with you, some of the stuff that we're looking at over the next couple of months after this event is going to be crazy. It's going to blow my mind. To be honest with you, I said this to the team. I guess that's what we'll say. I don't want to say any names, but we'll just we'll just go with that for now. But you know, I've forgotten again. Fuck. But I said this to the team the other day, like, the fact that I even get to perform in drag is one thing, but then the fact that I get to do that in my hometown comfortably and supported and completely free was not, as a 14-year-old child growing up in Swindon, I did not think that that was an opportunity that I would ever get in Swindon. So the fact that I have that opportunity is kind of like dream making to me, you know, and I'm really, really happy that I get to share this with so many other people, you know. But for now, that is that. I think you've heard enough of my pointless rambles for one day. Thank you so much for listening to the very first episode of The Real Talk, and I really, really hope that you enjoyed. I hope that I gave you a little bit of an insight into, like, my mindset, and I'm going to give you an insight into this fly's mindset in a motherfucking minute. Are you... You know when they fly towards you and they, like, headbutt you? It's almost like they're just challenging you and they just want to fight. Like, the fly woke up today and chose violence. This is not acceptable. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed, and I really, really hope that you like what I'm doing currently. And like I said before, please, 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 please make sure that you grab your tickets for Fiesta de Cuba. You don't even have to turn up, right? You can just buy the ticket. That would be great. No, I'm joking. Please turn up, come and have fun, and to just enjoy a night of celebration, because that is what that's going to be. So for the next couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about, you know, stuff like what we've spoken about today. We're not going to be talking about, you know, my show all the time. We are going to be talking about other shows. There is some other stuff that I've seen on social media, and I really would like you guys to see it as well. So if you would like to see that, and if you would like to hear it, then please subscribe, like, and comment down below. Look at me go. And make sure that you're just keeping an eye, engaging and just loving what I'm doing, because that's all I need. Cool. Thank you so much. See you later. Bye, guys.